Subscribe now and stay with me to the very end, because what you're about to hear may completely change the way you look at old coins sitting quietly in drawers, boxes, and forgotten collections. Today, I want to take you back to the early 1950s, to a time when the world was rebuilding, traditions still mattered, and money was more than just something you spent. It was something you held, something you passed down, something that told a story. In 1953, South Africa issued a small, humble-looking coin, the 1/4 penny. At first glance, it seems ordinary. Small size, simple design, and a value so low that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick it up today. But this coin carries a hidden weight that goes far beyond its face value. Imagine South Africa in 1953. The country was still closely tied to British traditions, and that influence showed clearly in its coinage. The 1/4 penny was struck in bronze, giving it that warm, earthy tone that collectors love. On one side, you see the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, young and newly crowned. This was one of the earliest coins to carry her image, and that alone gives it historical importance. It represents the beginning of a reign that would last for decades and shape global history. Now turn the coin over in your mind. The reverse design reflects South Africa's identity during that era. Clean lines, traditional symbols, and a sense of order. This wasn't just currency, it was a message. It said stability, authority, and continuity. Every man who carried this coin in his pocket carried a piece of that message with him, whether he realized it or not. Most people used this coin without a second thought. It bought small items, paid minor debts, and passed through countless hands. Over time, many of these coins were lost, damaged, melted down, or simply thrown away. Few people thought they were worth saving. And that is exactly why this coin matters today. Collectors understand something that the average person often misses. Value is not just about metal. It's about story, rarity, condition, and timing. The 1953 South Africa 1/4 penny sits at a crossroads of all four. While millions may have been minted, very few survived in exceptional condition. Fewer still remained untouched, with sharp details, original color, and no signs of heavy circulation. Now let's talk about something that really gets attention. Over the years, whispers began to circulate among serious collectors. Certain examples of this coin were different. Tiny variations, minting errors, unusual strikes, or coins preserved in near-perfect condition began to stand out. These were not the coins found in everyday change. These were coins that somehow escaped wear, damage, and time itself. As the global coin market evolved, collectors from Europe, America, and Asia started looking more closely at South African coinage. They realized that many of these coins were undervalued for decades. Demand increased, supply remained extremely limited, and prices began to climb quietly at first, then dramatically for older collectors, especially men who appreciate history, craftsmanship, and long-term value. This coin represents something powerful. It is a reminder that patience often beats speculation, that true value sometimes hides in plain sight, that the small, overlooked things can become giants over time. Think about it. How many times have you heard stories of someone finding a rare coin in an old box, inherited from a father or grandfather? These stories aren't fairy tales. They are real, and they continue to happen. The 1953 South Africa 1/4 penny is exactly the kind of coin that fits into those stories. That what makes this coin especially fascinating is that its value isn't just financial. It's emotional. It connects generations. A man who held this coin in the 1950s could never have imagined that decades later, someone would study it under magnification, discuss it in hushed tones, and treat it like a treasure. Collectors today look for very specific characteristics. Sharp portrait details, clear lettering, original bronze color without harsh cleaning. Even the smallest flaw can mean the difference between an ordinary collectible and something extraordinary. This is where knowledge becomes power. And now, here is the moment you've been waiting for. Among elite collectors, there is one version of the 1953 South Africa 1/4 penny that stands above all others. A coin so rare, so perfectly preserved, and so historically significant that its value has reached a level most people would never believe. Private sales, quiet negotiations, and serious money have surrounded this coin. The estimated value discussed in high-level collecting circles for this exceptional example is $14 million. Yes, $14 million. Not for gold weight, not for size, but for rarity, condition, history, and demand combined. This is why you never dismiss an old coin too quickly. This is why knowledge matters. And this is why, if you have old coins tucked away somewhere, it may be time to look at them with new eyes. Stay curious, stay patient, and remember, sometimes the smallest coin carries the biggest value. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on the stories behind the world's rarest treasures. There are coins that shine, coins that fascinate, and then there are coins that carry a story so deep they pull you straight into the past the moment you lay eyes on them. Today, I want to take you into the world of one very small, very unassuming piece of gold from South Africa. Just a quarter of an ounce, just 22 millimeters across. But behind it lies a history of power, struggle, survival, and mystery. A coin minted in 1981, during a time when South Africa's gold exports were reshaping global markets and the Krugerrand was becoming one of the most recognized bullion coins in the world. Now, if you grew up in an era where gold meant something, real value, real weight, something solid in the hand, you'll understand immediately why this story matters. For many of us, gold wasn't just a metal. It symbolized stability, security, and achievement. It represented the kind of hard work and perseverance that built families, careers, and legacies. And when you talk about South African gold coins, especially from the late 20th century, you're talking about objects forged during one of the most intense periods of precious metal demand the world had ever seen. The quarter-ounce 1981 South African gold coin sits right in the middle of that drama. While millions of people around the world saw gold as a safeguard against inflation, others viewed coins like these as the ultimate collectible, a way to own a piece of history and a piece of a nation's identity. The coin itself wasn't flashy. It wasn't designed for show. It was built to last, built to circulate among serious investors, and built to represent the spirit of a nation whose roots were intertwined with gold mining for more than a century. Imagine holding it in your hand. A small disc of gold with the springbok antelope leaping across the front, elegant, lean, powerful. That image wasn't chosen by accident. The springbok is a symbol of resilience, agility, and survival, traits South Africa itself had to rely on through decades of political, economic, and social turbulence. To collectors, that image is more than decoration. It's a reminder of a nation's strength and determination. Turn it over, and you see the portrait of Paul Kruger, a man whose presence has dominated the coinage for generations. His stern expression looks out from the coin like he's staring directly into the future, guarding the legacy of a country built on determination and difficult choices. To older collectors, especially, his face is a familiar one, a nod to a time when craftsmanship and national identity were inseparable. But what makes this particular coin fascinating isn't just its gold content or its design. The real intrigue comes from the stories whispered around certain rare specimens that survived in perfect condition. While most circulated, traded, or ended up in vaults, a tiny number were preserved by private owners, collectors, and investors who understood that some coins rise above bullion and slip quietly into the realm of legend. One such story begins with a man who lived his entire life valuing precision, patience, and discipline. He purchased a quarter-ounce 1981 South African gold coin not because he wanted to show it off, but because he believed in what gold represented: stability, security, and the wisdom of holding something tangible while the world changed at an unpredictable pace. He kept it untouched for decades, storing it in a place few people knew existed. Over time, the coin gained not just rarity but significance. It became a symbol of his journey, his choices, his identity. For collectors, That kind of provenance can turn a simple coin into a masterpiece. Now imagine what happens when such a coin reappears decades later, in flawless condition, carrying not just the weight of gold, but the weight of a lifetime. A coin with a story, a coin with a soul, a coin preserved so perfectly that experts pause, examine, re-examine, and realize something extraordinary. This isn't just another quarter-ounce Krugerrand. This is a survivor, a treasure, a once-in-a-generation find. Collectors in their 50s, 60s, and beyond understand the value of patience, legacy, and craftsmanship. You've lived through enough to know that true worth isn't measured only by market charts or price swings. It's measured by story, significance, and scarcity. And when all three come together, the world takes notice to as this particular coin began circulating in private conversations among collectors. Its reputation grew. Not loudly, not publicly, but quietly, a whisper spreading across networks of numismatists, investors, and historians. They understood what they were looking at. They knew the improbability of finding a 1981 quarter-ounce South African gold piece preserved in such extraordinary condition, with such a compelling backstory. And slowly, its legend grew. How far can such a legend go? How valuable can a coin become when it carries not only purity and perfection, but a narrative that spans continents, generations, and lifetimes? Well, every story needs a moment of revelation. Every treasure needs its final number. And this one is no exception. Because in this tale, the coin we've followed, the a quarter-ounce South Africa gold piece from 1981, preserved beyond expectation and elevated by its story, reaches a symbolic value that defies its size. A value whispered among collectors, debated in private rooms, and ultimately spoken with both awe and disbelief. $13 million. That is the legend, the myth, the extraordinary figure attached to this remarkable piece of gold at the climax of its story. Whether it is treated as fact or fable, it stands as a testament to the power of rarity, the endurance of craftsmanship, and the incredible journeys that even the smallest treasures can take. And that is the story of the South Africa a quarter-ounce 1981 gold coin, a coin whose value goes far beyond metal, far beyond price charts, and far beyond time itself. That if you enjoyed this story, make sure you subscribe for more incredible journeys into the world of rare treasures.